based on that data were transferred from one gadget to another gadget or one sensor to another gadget. So like that. So the another term is called AIoT, which is nothing but a combination of artificial intelligence along with the Internet of Things. Because it is an application of that IoT itself. So because in the IoT we are gathering the data only. So based on the data, we have to utilize that particular data in a useful manner. So that's why we are using an AIoT to predict or analyze or classify some things in a precise manner by using the with the help of the IoT. So let's have a look about the sample application of that IoT device. Let's have this is a multifunction energy meter that used to monitor and measures the electrical parameters such as voltage, reactive power, all the parameters. For an example, it can use nearly 130 plus parameters by using a single meters. So from this meter, we can gather a lot of data to our systems to get to be logged. So based on that log data, we can analyze or implement a lot of R&D things to predict or to analyze the energy patterns used in that particular home or in your particular institutions like that. So these are the commonly using smart meter brands like Secure, Schneider, L&T, Trinity, Elmezer, Techno. So these are the commonly using brands, and in these brands there is a two type of commonly using protocols. One is RS-232 and another one is RS-485. So in the RS-485 there is a two types. One is Modbus RTU and another one is Modbus TCP/IP. So Modbus TCP/IP is nothing but a smart meter comes along with a Ethernet port. Once I give a direct internet connection means it start publishing the data to a particular server. So there we can receive the data with the help of internet and we can log it at whatever frequency we need. So for in the RS-232 and the RS-485 Modbus RTU, these are the wired connections. So for RS-232, it ports looks like an VGA port. We all know about HDMI and VGA. So a slight RS-232 port looks like a VGA port. So from that we can convert that RS-232 port to a USB. From that we can easily extract the data from that particular meter. Let's have a deeper look about what is Modbus RTU, because these are the this is the main protocol used in major of non-branded and branded meters. So in the Modbus RTU, so RTU stands for remote terminal unit, which is nothing but a remotely access. We are going to access that a particular meter from a remote location. So that's why the name is called a remote terminal unit. And the communication is called as a half duplex. That means master to slave. That means, for example, in this class, let's take a sample class. In that professor asks question means students start answering that particular question. No, so that is how that master slaves also working. So when master ask for any parameter means slave will respond to a particular master. So this is the result. So that's how that particular things were work. So it is a half duplex mode. So that means that either we can ask a question or we have to wait for an answer. So we cannot do a parallel process like when I frequently ask for a question means I have to wait for some seconds to receive a data. I cannot do both the things in a parallel manner. So and it can support up to 247 slaves in a parallel manner. That means for a single master, it has a capable of connecting 247 smart meters in a parallel manner. So that is the second point. And another thing is called how much distance I can get the data. That means in 1200 meters we can receive a data without any data losses by utilizing a proper communication channel. So in the another code on the other hand, we have a Modbus address which are encoded by using 16 bits with a number between 0 to 65,535. So this is called a Modbus address. So under a unique address, there is a parameter result. For an example, I will show you. So let's take a sample picture, like sample data for Elite. So this is that Elite 440 meter. So I told no, there's a Modbus address. So how it look like means yeah, here you can see these Modbus of offset means this is the Modbus address and this is the description of that address. This is the unit and this is the data type. So for us like this, there is a lot of energy meters available. No, so for that every energy meter there is a unique Modbus offset values were present. For an example, if I request a 99 data in the Modbus address as a Modbus address to a Elite 440 means it returns the value of phase to neutral voltage with the unit of volt. Its data type is single. So that will take care. That data type will take care in the software side. So we don't need to bother about that. So as like this is the Modbus address. So this is the Modbus parameter. So by utilizing this Modbus address and its parameter, we can request and receive whatever the data we need. I will show the demo how we are going to request it and how how we get the result in return back. So I will show you in the upcoming slides. So this is how we going to take the data from the network. For an example, if I need to take Modbus address for another meter called Snyder. So under the user manual itself, we can get our data whatever we need. So this is a dual source meter. So this is how that connections were made. So it has a terminal for Modbus RTU. It has a terminal name called A plus and B minus. So from that only we can collect the data. So for every meter there is a I hope you can all see. Wait, let me down. Yeah, here you can see plus and minus. So this is for the communication. So from this port only we can start receiving the data whatever we are requesting to that particular slave. So the master may be in any type of controller or any type of SOCs. SOC is nothing but a system on chip, or it may be in a laptop or a system, whatever it may. So the master may have a capable of explicit programming. So once that programming were done, we can start requesting that data to a particular smart meter, which is a slave. It start responding to us whatever we are requesting. So this is how the communications were happen. So as I told, no. So A plus and B minus for data communication between the master and slave. So by using that A plus and B minus only, we are going to take the data. So here you can see data A, B. So that those two wires were transmitted to a converter. So this converter is directly inserted to a Raspberry. So here I use a master, the Raspberry Pi as a master to collect the data from that particular meter. This is a Eastron meter. So I will show you how to get that Modbus address for that meter itself. This is a Eastron SDM 230. So the another main point is the register types. In the Modbus communication, it has two types. One is output, one is for input. For output, we can gather the data, whatever it has, like voltage, current, power factor, whatever the data set it has. For to use the input, we can use an relay units or an inbuilt relay power relay to react. Means we can give a command to switch over that relay from NO to NC like that. So the another main thing is called we should use a shielded pair twisted cable for a Modbus communication to get the data without any loss. So in this that picture you can see this is how that shielded pair twisted cables looks like. So this black and red is wires, and this this blue color and this gray color is supported things which twisted that which holds the twisted pair inside that particular cable. So by utilizing this particular cable, we can get data without any loss from up to 1200 meters. So I will show how to get the data for the Eastron meter. Just go to a Google and type for that particular meter and its model name and with Modbus address. So I recommend this aggsoft.com. So in this we can directly get the Modbus address as well as the Modbus description. So here you can see. So these are the Modbus offset value and these are the description for that particular address. From that we can start receiving the data. I will show in a demo and how I utilize that particular meter in IoT and how I request and receive the data from that by using my Raspberry Pi as a master. So this is how that meters were connected to that particular master unit. So these are the slaves. You can see all these slaves can be a similar kind or a different type of make or model like that. All the data, all the meters were connected to a converter, which is a UART converter, serial to UART. So all the A plus and B minus were parallelly connected to a port given here, A plus B minus. In the other hand, we have a four terminals like VCC, ground, RX, TX. VCC is to give a supply to that particular module to give a power. After that power supply only, it start react to that particular data. So and ground is to complete that power communication. So the another thing is called RX and TX. RX means receiving X data and TX means transmitting X data. So by utilizing this converter, we can convert the data, Modbus data as a serial data. After that, we can connect that particular data to particular terminal to that particular master. It may be the master may be an Node MCU or ESP32 or a Raspberry Pi, whatever it may. So after that, it start receiving the data, and after receiving data, we can transmit it over to your mobile, or we can log it inside that Raspberry Pi, whatever we need. So let's have a small video about these smart meters, how it looks like, and what are all the terminal it has, and what are all the things comes on inside that particular smart meters, all the things. So at first, let's have a look about what is how that Elite 440 meter look like and how the CTs were connected, and whether the PT comes along with the meter, or else we have to make it available in external device, as an external device like that. So we have gone through many smart function meters and how it works, and the Modbus connections for like device. So
Volume. I can't hear anything.
sir, can you hear the audio?
No, sir. No, sir. We are not able to hear your audio, just video.
Okay. Okay. I will explain it in these. Actually, what it shows in that video. Actually, this is that Elite 440 meter. So it is a three-phase meter, a three-phase AC meter. So it comes along with the PT. So we don't need to include an external PT to sense the voltage. So we have to add an CT coils. So for every single phase, we have to insert our CT coils. After inserting that CT coil, we have to set the settings in that particular smart meters. Like in what ratio I have used this CT. For an example, as a general one, we have to use 5:100 amps for amps CT for this particular smart meters. So here itself we are using an individual smart meters for individual CT in the ratio of 5:100 in the smart meters. So it has a P1 and S1 terminals. As like that, in the smart meter, it also has an P1 and S1 terminals. We have to connect those two wires to that particular smart meter. So this is the things I have mentioned in this particular video. So on the second video, so this is another model. It is an LNT based meter, which is a GSM based smart meter. Let's have a look how it actually in this data I have just explained what all the terminals it has and what all buttons it has and what all the positions it has, how the data was transferred from this particular meter to our particular cloud like that. So here you can see so this is the optical port. So by utilizing this optical port, we can use the optical meter to read the data, energy data from this particular LNT meter. So this is the up and down button to change the parameters viewing part by increment and decrement manner. And the last one is called a reset button. To reset our meter, we have a small push button inside this particular rubber bush. Once we click that, our all the settings were get resetted. So this is a small thing. So as I already told, it is the GSM based and GPRS based smart meter. So if we recharged for a GSM, it sends the data in a particular set of frequency to our mobile. And if we recharge with the GPRS pack means it transmits the data to the cloud, where we redirect the data to the particular things using a particular software. So will clearly show the up down buttons, reset button. So I told now it is a GPRS based meter. So inside that particular part only there is a GPRS modem. So where we have to insert the SIM, how it communicates, where how the port were inserted to the particular meter. Also, the particular meter. So I don't know. So this is a SIM enabled meter. So this is a SIM slot where we can insert our SIMs to this particular SIM module. So this is a SIM 7600 module. This particular board were manufactured by L&T itself. It is not an external hardware. So they made an antenna itself for signal posting. So here I opens the upper cover. So this is how that I outer looks. So once I open that outer look, this is how the meter looks like. So these are the terminals. So this is a three-phase meter, as I told. So three phases, and these are the inputs and outputs for that particular all white and neutral. So this is how the transistors are used. So this is how that internal circuits were made for this particular LNT Regar meter. So particular still display LCD display.
Sir,
This is a
nothing
four
is.
cross, 16 cross
Excuse
4.
me, sir.
Pardon?
Sir, you're not able to. Okay, now only it is visible, sir.
Oh, okay, ma'am. So I just removed the upper cover of this particular Regar meter. So as of now, this is the thing. Then inside it, it has a 16 cross 4 LCD display, and it has a CMOS battery to maintain a time and voltage if there is any supply interruption. So under this particular silver thing, it has a microchip. So that microchip will have, hello, hello. Okay, fine. So inside this, that particular microchip will handle about what all the inputs were given from the user interface. The user interface means that those push buttons and what all the data should be shown in this particular LCD display. All the things were handled by this particular single chip itself. So this is the chip specially made for three-phase multifunction meters. more deeper look about how the PTs were connected and how the CTs were connected. In the Elite 440 meter, the CTs were connected in as an external device. So, but in this particular meter, all the CTs and PTs were connected inside this particular meter itself. So we don't need to worry about how to set that ratio of CT coil and how to set the ratio of PT coil, all the things. So here you can see the optical port. So here you can see how the circuits work. So this is the SMPS. The one I hold in hand is the SMPS circuit to give a power supply for the things inside this particular front end. The other things is called PC and this is how does this work. So this one is, as I told the SI, this one is S2 DLX, but as like this, here also has an S1 and S2. So it also has the S1 and S2, which is directly connected multiple. So this is a LNT meter, three-phase LNT meter. So from these port on this particular GSM were connected. So those male pins are fitted here. By taking this one, the data are transferred from the microcontroller to the GSM and GSM to the microcontroller. So this is how that particular meters were look like and particular data were transferred and how the connections were made inside that different Elite 440 meter as well as in the LNT regard meter. So let's move to the demo session. Like this is how that hardwares were installed in many sites. So this is the photo of TC Tyagaraja College of Engineering, Madurai. So there we installed a weather monitoring station. So from this we can collect the data of that local parameters like wind speed, IR radiation, temperature, humidity, all and the surface temperature of that particular solar panel, all the things. So from this we can easily find the data in more precious manner. Like if I want to predict the data of upcoming 5 minutes, how much power I can generate by using this particular solar panel means I can easily find out by utilizing the data, historical data of that particular solar power panel smart meters, as well as the local temperature, local IR radiation, all the things. So if I took two data together and start predict means I get more precise answer as an output. For that I use a CNN algorithm. I will explain all the things in upcoming slides. So here you can see the site photos, how the data, how the hardwares are installed. So in the left side, you can see how the IR radiation sensors were connected in the solar panel, and how the surface temperature sensor were mounted here in the below. So on the right side, you can see the test bench. So from this test bench, you can control and monitor the data, um, control the loads, what are all the loads connected indirectly to that particular solar meter, solar power plant, and you can directly monitor how much that particular solar power was generated in a live manner, as well as you can easily predict in next 5 minutes how much power I can generate by using this particular solar panel or by using this or the entire solar power plant, like that. So on the left bottom, you can see these multifunction meters to collect the data from the solar panel, how much power were generated, how much power were transferred to that particular battery to charge it, like that. All the things were collected inside that particular meter itself. So it is a LMSR based meter. So let's have a demo about how the IoT works in this particular application, and on the other hand, how to log the data in our application, like that. So for this, we are using an MQTT, which is a message queuing telemetry protocol, which has no losses in the data transmission because it using queuing technology. Queuing process means nothing but if I frequently ask for a continuous question means you have to wait other questions and answer a question one by one. What are all like a first in as a first out. If I ask 10th question means first question I should answer for a first question, then I have to pick for a second question. As like that, this MQTT behaves. So it is a very lightweight protocol. It can able to install in all your systems. It takes around 5 MB of sizes of size to start a service. It's that MQTT works as a redirector, data redirector. So whoever publish or subscribes are the clients. Here publisher means who are transmitting a data are called as a publisher, and who are receives the data are called as subscribers. So this MQTT server react as a data redirector. So who are all publish the data to this particular MQTT server. The MQTT server redirects that data to the subscriber who are all subscribed. So here there is a no storage like that things. So that's why it is a very lightweight protocol to transmit the data, which is a very much familiar protocols in the recent trends in the IoT sectors. So all the IoT engineers and all the IoT based companies utilize this MQTT itself to transmit the data. So other than that, there is another method to transmit the data. Is called an REST API. REST API is nothing but an HTTPS method. That is means if I request means that will directly respond to me, like that. In that there is a big disadvantage. There is a lot of miscommunication as well as data losses happened in that particular HTTPS method. For an example, if you are going and search something in a Google means it shows the result in some order. In the same time, just refresh your screen. It shows the same result in a different order, or it may show a different result. It is due to the HTTPS request method. So I request for a same thing, but it responds in a different manner because of that data. The client which responds is it responds in a slower manner, or it responds and it may respond or it may not respond as like that. The result responses in the Google page shows a different result for a same request. So that's why the IoT engineers start avoiding the HTTPS method. So instead of that, they are focusing on this MQTT method. So based on that, we are using this MQTT to collect the data from the smart meters. So this is how that MQTT broker is nothing but the one who can transmit and collect the data are called as a broker. So by utilizing this broker, I can start collecting the data whatever I need from the smart meters. For an example, I will show you how to collect the data. So all the smart meters were connected to a computer, and at sometimes I switched my system to a Raspberry Pi to collect the data. So by now it is connected to a system. So I request for what all the systems were available for me to collect the data. So from this, get all the data, what are all the systems available there in the network of mine were ready to give me a data which I request. So I requested it for. So it returns. It has 1, 2, 3. So 3 meters it has. can able to send me a data. So in the next thing, I have to find in this particular meter, in this particular system, what are all the data I can get from it, and how many slaves were connected to this particular master. So that can be found by using this particular topic. So I requesting for what all the slaves were connected to this particular master. So it responds like, yeah. So it responds. It has a Schneider electrical EM6438 meter under with the remote address 1. So it has only one electrical meter connected to it. So I request for what are all the parameters it can able to give to me at the instant. So I request for what are all the point list it has able to give me. So I request it for that. So it shows around 43 parameters, I think so. So these are the list of parameters that this particular that particular Schneider meter can able to give me. Sorry, this interruption due to that. Yeah. So for an example, if I need any particular real-time values in that particular meter means, at the another thing, this particular smart meters were installed in the NIT Pondicherry. So that's why you can see that ID, sir, NIT Pondi. That means it is installed in a NIT Pondicherry. So I request for some other meter, some other real-time values. If I need a R-phase power factor from them, means I just copied it. So I requested it. So it gives the value of minus 0.97 as a power factor. It has currently in that particular meter. When I requested it shows minus 0.97. So that is the actual value. So for example, anyone from the meet, I can request any other parameters from this particular list. So you want to know about anything, but any parameters value means you can request it. I can give you the answer. So any volunteer want to know any real-time value there? Okay, I request for an active energy. As of now, how much units were consumed by you after installing that particular meter? I will show you. So here you can see this much of kilowatt they are utilized after installing our particular Schneider meter. So this is how this MQTT help us to collect the data from the remotely installed smart meter to wherever I was. So this is a middleware which help us to collect the data. I will show a demo of a particular software. There you can get a lot of informations. There you can save the data as a log like that. So on the other hand, I will show the smart weather monitoring data, if possible, if it is connected to my network. Yeah, here you can see these are the parameters I can get from that particular weather monitoring system. So this is also connected at the NIT Pondicherry. Here you can get the solar IR radiation, wind speed, humidity, ambient temperature. So these are the possible parameters I can get from there. So for example, I will get the solar IR radiation at NIT Pondicherry. Yeah, okay. 1104.0 is the solar IR radiation value at the instant at NIT Pondicherry. So this is how that MQTT help us. So as I told no, so there is a two person, the one who requests is a publisher and one who collects the data is a subscriber. So here you can see, so this is a publishing sector. So this is a subscribing sector. Here you can receive whatever the data that passes through that particular topic. And here you can send a particular message, whatever I need to request here, or I wish to send there to here. So these are the topics. So in the MQTT sector, there are four things, main things we have to take concern about. One thing is like what is published and what is subscribed, and another one is what is topic and what is payload. So what is topic means? So topic is nothing but a path where the data can easily transfer without disturbing another data. So for an example, if I keep requesting for this means at that instant some other person can easily request and get the data whatever they want. So for example, while I am executing this, there is some other person, SMEPB Haikyuzen, just interrupted my communication and they get what data they want. So actually this is a COVID solution. It sends the data whether if that person crosses that particular camera, it captures that image of that particular person and send it as an encoded format and sends the data of temperature of that person, whether he is male or female, like that, all the data. So this is how the MQTT help us to transmit the data to our user end. So on the other hand, we have an application. I will show you. So we are using an Unomint for our software. So by utilizing their software, we can log whatever the data were collected from that particular meter, and we can set a frequency at which instant I have to log that particular parameter, like that. So this is their login page. Yeah, here you can see the dashboards. So I will show the as of now I have connected 3 meters to this particular user. One is an Eastron SDM230 single phase meter to my AC air conditioner, and another one is a NIT Pondicherry Snyder meter, and another one is NIT Pondicherry weather monitoring meter. So these are the 3 meters I have connected there. I'll show the energy dashboard. From this energy dashboard, you can see the energy consumption patterns, energy consumption of that particular meter at that particular instant. For an example, on the 15/5/2021, they have consumed nearly 1,563 kilowatt at that on that day. Like that, you can see all the data here in the weekly format, monthly format, all the data you can able to see. So on the other hand, we have another meter called Snyder no. So I will show you. I have showed the Snyder. I'll show you the Eastern meter. So like this, I can change the custom date range from where to where I need the data, the energy consumption. So here you can see how much the energy were utilized by you by that particular single AC unit itself. So this is the one part. So the another thing, we can generate a report for a month or for a year like that. So this is how we can generate our report. So you can see the voltage, current, active power, apparent power, reactive power. So all the data were logged here by utilizing the MQTT data. So at which frequency we have set it now. So by utilizing that frequency, it sends it requests the data and receives the data and logged it in this particular sheet. So actually it is a QA page. That's why there is some data was skipped. So you can see. So we can also download the data we need as an Excel format. By utilizing this, we can easily get the data set to implement our machine learning or deep learning things to predict or to analyze like that. So like this, it downloads the data as a Excel. So as like this, I will show the so this is for Eastern meter. I will show another 2 meters. So, yeah. So this is how that Excel were downloaded. So after that, you can directly start utilizing the data whatever you need. So that's it. So this is for Snyder meter. I have logged the various data at various frequencies. So it generates a general log for various data at various frequencies whenever I requested. So it generates all the 43 parameters here. So for various intervals. So this is weather monitoring data. So as like this, we can utilize the MQTT power to our software to log our data. After log, we can download it for our data set to implement a machine learning and deep learning. So here you can see the data logged for an solar IR radiation, wind speed, temperature, humidity, all the things. I will show how that things can be mapped to maintain a log. So for that I go to this asset maintenance. So inside this I will go to edit. Set this asset ID. So I have shown now. So inside this schedule, I can schedule when should I publish a request to collect the data and log it. So I should go there. So here I can add a schedule. So a schedule name. IoT test. So from here I can make whether I want to make a schedule with based on the calendar or from by using a monitoring or by using both calendar or monitoring like that. For an example, I use a calendar as a schedule based on. After that, at which frequency I should get the data, whether hours or repeated hours or for a day or a date, for repeated weekdays, weeks, months, years. I can log whatever frequency I need to log. In hours, I just clicked it. In which frequency I should collect the data. For an example, I given 1 hour. So I have to select in which days I have send the request to collect the data. So all the once all the configurations were done, I just click add a new task. So inside that a monitoring task, my main task is to monitor the data whatever inside that particular meter for an hour frequency. So here you can enter a monitoring name as whatever you need. And just enable the IoT sensor where I gonna collect the data from. And just select from which meter I gonna collect the data. And just selected the meter. Here you can see the sensor property. What are all the parameters it can able to give us were shown here. From that I can select which parameter I need. So here as like it can able to give this much of parameters to be logged. So as like this, after selecting what parameter I need, just click it, and here we can enter a user defined name for that particular parameter. For example, units consumed in AWH. Here we can enter a unit of a meter, monitoring meter, so kilowatt. So after that I just click submit to complete my monitoring task. If I need another value means I can just click on add task item to add a new item or new parameter to be logged. So as like this, how the particular logs can be generated. So let's have some other deeper mechanism after this demo. So let's have a look about what is CNN algorithm, because from by implementing this particular with weather monitoring and solar panel smart metering solution, and we have collected the logged data and have implemented a CNN algorithm to find out the next five minutes predicted data. That means next 5 minutes how much power I can generate it by utilizing that particular power plant. So this is a problem statement given by the substation which is at Tamil Nadu. So after collecting the data, we have started implemented by using various algorithm. But for us, CNL algorithm gives the best result to predict that upcoming solar power generated. So let's have a small look about what is CNN algorithm. Actually, CNN algorithm is the also called as a convolutional neural network or ConVNet. So by utilizing, actually this is a deep learning neural network, also called as a deep learning algorithm, which can take input as an image or a voice or a text or numericals to assign after getting input, it assign the importance to that label. Important means learnable weights to that particular labels, which are the parameters are the major deciding factors, whether the serial number, whether the unit consumed, whether the unit generated, all the things. So in that it gives the weight to the given inputs to various aspects or the objects in the images or in the uh, Excel or CSV formatted tables. And the after that it start the pre-processing things. The pre-processing means nothing but clearing the unwanted data from the given input. For an example, if I give a boat image to recognize in the future whether I found a boat or not, means it deletes the background like grass or water or nearby person like that. This is the pre-processing that should be done in the ConVNet. Is much it is very less work. It gives a very supportive works to that particular kernel to detect that particular boat in a future manner by implementing a deep learning algorithm and recognize it by using with the help of a convolutional neural network. So the architecture of the kernel is analogous to that of the connectivity pattern of neurons in the human brain. So as like in the human brain, the convolutional neural networks were connected in a particular manner to detect the particular boat by recognizing its shape, structure, color, like that things. Actually, it has an individual neurons that is a response to the stimuli only in a restricted region of a visual field known as the respective field. A collective of such fields overlaps to cover the entire visual area. As I give the image, if I give the board image, means it recognizes the board by the pixel by pixel manner. It start extract the feature of that board by developing the pooling mechanism. Pooling mechanism is nothing but collecting the data whatever the that pixel has, whether it has a line or a dot or a triangle like that structure, and what color it has. All the things are called as a features that were collected by the mechanism of pooling. After that, it frequently convolves the neurals to collect the data. After that, it combines the neural together and founds whether the collected data were both or not. So that is where detected by or classified under the fully connected layers. So this is how that machine learning were used in this particular data to classify the particular image or particular output of desired output of the given tables or a text or a voice or a video, like that things. So the data involved in that particular machine learning part is temperature, solar or air radiation, surface temperature, cloud pattern, humidity, power generated pattern for past 2 years. So these are the data where we have give input to that particular algorithm to detect the predicted power generated for the next 5 minutes. So these are the process we have incorporated in that particular machine learning part, which is where we collect the data were called as a cloud. So after that, the data were inserted to the particular algorithm. Once that algorithm trained, it start predicted the value, and the predicted output were given to that particular software called as Grafana. So Grafana is nothing but a visualization tool which help us a lot to collect the data from the database and visualize the data in a graphical manner. So I will show how the Grafana looks like and how it works. So actually, this is a Grafana. You can directly install it in your system. So it is an open source application. You can utilize it in a free of cost. So its a default username is admin, and default password is also an admin. So give a login. So after that, you can change your password as whatever you need. I just skip over it. So this is the front end page of that particular Grafana. So here you can give a inputs from where I should collect the data, like from which database or from which data transferring path I should start collecting the data. So for an example, we all know about the SQL. So here it has three type of SQL: Microsoft SQL Server, MySQL, PGSQL. From which data source I should start collecting the data. For an example, I will show you. I just start my SQL Server inside my lab itself. So I use a XAMPP server to utilize the SQL inside my lab. So my laptop itself behaves like a server to start collecting the data and store it in the database. So here you can see, so I just started the Apache server as well as the MySQL server. So after enabling it, I can easily collect the data from the database, whatever it has inside this particular DB. So I just use MySQL for my convenient. So here you should give the host name, database name, user credential, whether if it has any username or password means you should give that. So for an example, give. So before that, I will show how the database looks like. So then only you can easily understand how the things were collected from there. So MySQL is nothing but a structured query language. So when I start querying some data from inside that particular database, means it responds whatever the data it has inside that particular table. So the tables it looks like in the Excel. If I need some values inside that Excel, means I should go for in which column, in which row, means. So like that it has. So I will open some database I has. So here you can see some of the random data like the date, time, D1, D2. So we can generate whatever data we need. I will show how to create a sample database and a table inside this particular MySQL server. Just click on new. So it's generate a new table. To generate a new database, you can just click a new here. It generates a new database. So inside that, you can give a table name as you want. For example, demo timestamp. The first thing we have to maintain a timestamp to collect the data, because that is very easy to fetch at which time we need, at which data we need at that particular instant. Like that, we can easily fetch the data now. So that's why we should maintain a particular timestamp. So timestamp. So here I mentioned the current timestamp. Whenever the data incomes, it updates that particular time of that particular server. Here we can enter whatever we need. For example, D1, we need it as a text, or we need it as a int, or we need it as a float. Whatever the data type we need, we can enter it. Decimal. And just save. Once I saved it, gets the default length and values of that particular data type. So here you can see we have generated a table demo. So inside that demo, we have generated timestamp D1, D2, D3. So its structures looks like timestamp is a current timestamp, D1 is a float, D2 is a int, and D3 is a decimal. So let's upload a sample data inside that particular So I use a Python program to insert some random data into that particular table called a demo. Will show you. Yeah. So this is my basic program. So inside a test database, DB test. So I'll give some data. So we have only D3 to D3. Okay. So here I have to mention a table name, a demo. So I have saved it. Just run it. So it's connected to a DB. So how I told it means so for once it connected means it shows the finish exception. It shows the issue in the SQL. So it start publishing a data in the frequency of 10 seconds to the DB. So I will show how the data were here. So here you can see the random data were start published to this to this particular timestamp to this particular field. So once I start receiving the data to this particular DB means I just stopped it. Uh, sure. So as of now, I have received 4 data. So let's skip it and we go for another thing called the demo for data. So it has numerous data. Oh, so it has around this four set of data. So here I just go to test demo, save and test. It saves and tests the data source were invalid, query failed, inspected Grafana server logs. Okay. After that, I go back to home and I start created a dashboard. So in this, just add a new panel. Just go to default to a thing. So I select the data. So here we generated a table now. So that shows here. So here I select a date and date as a x-axis and d1 as a y-axis. In an average manner, it should show. At which instant it has a data. So from 14/5/2021. only one data at that time. So like this, I have to select the data range. After that, I can change the visualization, whatever I need, whether it should be in a bar chart or it should be in a table format or it should be in a graph. Like that, I can change whatever data I need from that particular database. So this is how the graphical visualization were done as an output for our data acquisition and visualization. So as like we can also create a heat map. If we need a button, also we can set a button pie chart. So if I need to insert two data in a parallel in a manner, means can go just like this. I can easily generate a various visualization in that particular part. So this is how the visualization were done. Yeah, that's it. So this is the Grafana part. So this is our ML result. Actually, real-time data fetched from TCE College. From the solar panel, we have received the data by utilizing the smart function meters and by utilizing a smart weather monitoring system. We have collected the data, and by using a image processing CNN algorithm. On the other hand, we have used the CNN algorithm to collect the cloud patterns. Here I mentioned no cloud pattern. The local cloud pattern, whether the cloud is cloudy or rainy or a black cloud or a brighter sunlight were happened. So all the data were also get included in this particular algorithm to collect the data. As a result, we found nearly 90 percentage of accuracy as a result, and we have submitted the papers to that particular EB station. So this is how we have made, and this is the result we have get. So that's it. So thanks for your time. So as of now, if there are any queries, you can ask me. Ma'am, that's it, ma'am. If there is any queries, means we can go for a query session. Hello.
Person can unmute and ask your queries.
Can I ask all your queries regarding IoT or the implementation part or the data logging part or the ML concepts? Whatever you need, you can ask, because this is a really real implementation of this project. So how we have collected the data, how we logged, how we give input, and in which algorithm we get a actual output, and what are all the data were involved in the ML process. All the things I have revealed.
The participants are requested to ask your queries to the resource person.
So is there no
Sir,
more query? Yeah. Yeah.
Sir, I
Please.
have a question, sir. Regarding the data storage in the cloud, is that any minimum charges like that, or do we have any open source, any free software for that also, sir?
Yeah, ma'am. There is a few, many free sources were available to log a data in a cloud itself. You can use your personal system or personal laptops to utilize it as a data logger, or else you can go for an 000 host. I will show you. So this is a 5 GB free source where we can store all our data in cloud and access wherever we need in a free manner. And as like this, you can use a Firebase, which is provided by a Google. So there also you can store your data up to 2 GB. So after that, you can utilize wherever you need. These two websites also have an external API to collect the data. So by utilizing these two, you can directly store your data and you retrieve it, and you can also implement a web hosting to make a dashboard to utilize it. Zero port as well as Firebase. So by utilizing these two, we can store our data. Is there any other queries?
So one participant have asked a question: how to get the solar irradiation data? Is there any open source for that?
Yeah, there is a open source for that, but actually that is not an actual data you are getting, because the sensors were installed at any other place. By implementing a solar IR radiation sensor in your place itself helps you a lot to get an actual prediction data. So try to install own sensor in your own place, or else you can use a third-party software. Uh, that part I will show you that particular thing. Open to the. So by using this Open Weather API, Open Weather Map API, you can get all the temperature, humidity, and local cloud patterns and the solar IR radiations, all the information from this API itself. So they give the free documents and a free API source to get the data for nearly 1 month. So after that you have to pay. Instead of that, you can create another account to get the data also. So by utilizing this, you can get your solar IR radiation and all the supporting data. Is there any other doubts?
So okay, sir. Thank you, sir. I will
Thank
give you thank you note for you. So I thank the chief guest, Mr. R. Vignesh, for his hands-on training in machine learning techniques. His presentation itself was very impressive, and he briefed all the some techniques from machine learning, as well as he showed the live examples from TCE and as well as the L&T smart meters also. It was really useful. And thank all the participants who were very patient enough to hear. I can understand your eagerness towards this FDP. I have posted the feedback link in the meeting chat as well as in the WhatsApp group. So I request you to fill the feedback form before you wind up for this session. Thank you all. Have a nice day.
Thank you.